In this video, I'm going to demonstrate on how we can use the open source tools RosettaDB and Debezium to synchronize two databases. In the use case that we will show up, everything is bundled inside this GitHub project, and the source will be MySQL and the target will be a Postgres database. The goal will be to utilize RosettaDB in order to capture the schema changes and synchronize them to the target DB Postgres, and at the same time use Debezium for change data capture and synchronize both databases. In order to get started, all we have to do is just make sure we clone this project. I already did, and I have access on my machine here. The project is already available. We will need to have Docker up and running because all the Debezium components will start in Docker containers. We will need Python 3 and also two dependencies, and the command to install them is already available in README. At the moment, I have Docker up and running, no containers running here. As part of this project, we have all the necessary prerequisites and configurations required. We have the drivers already downloaded and set up. We have RosettaDB downloaded, and based on your operating system, it will determine which one to use. We have the translation.csv mainly used for schema translations between MySQL and Postgres. We have the Docker Compose, where we have all the containers needed in order to get started with the Debezium. And we have the pause on schema change.py, which is a Python script which will orchestrate the differences and once a schema change happens on MySQL. And finally, the syncdbs.sh, which is the main script we need in order to start with everything. So let's get started. In order to run the whole project, I'll simply run the syncdbs.sh. Here we will execute a series of steps, starting from Docker Compose 1, which will start all the containers needed for this experiment. We'll have a MySQL container, a Postgres container, we'll have a Kafka used by Debezium, the Debezium Connect, and a Zookeeper needed for the Kafka part. Now Postgres is starting. It will continue to do the configuration. RosettaDB initially will do the initial setup, initial migration from MySQL to Postgres. Once everything is ready, Debezium will get configured, and now everything is up and running. To confirm that everything is running as expected, we can go to Docker, and right here we can find out all the running containers and make sure that everything is set up properly. The first thing that we'll check is, let's make sure that we can access both databases. So we have the MySQL source DB. All the configuration is around the single table for demonstration purposes to keep it simple. So we have the customers table, which is already available in MySQL source DB. Let's go to Postgres target DB. Under the schema inventory, we should find the same table with the same data and structure. So in order to guarantee and confirm that Debezium is working and up and running, we can go ahead in the MySQL source database and add some new rows. I will simply add a new row directly from my DB client. So let's use RosettaDB Debezium, RosettaDB at debezium.com. So this is the new row that I added in my SQL database. And going to the Postgres database, we can refresh, and the new row just appeared here. So the change data capture that Debezium is handling is working as expected. At the same time, we can go to the schema part of our database, and instead of adding rows, I'll add a new column. So I'll go ahead and add a new column, name it CDC. I'll keep the default configuration, varchar 100 is okay. I'll save that change. Let's make sure I refresh this. Now I can add the new column, save it, persist. The new column got added. If we go to the target database now, Postgres, we have the CDC one. Let's add some data in MySQL on the CDC one. For instance, I can go ahead and do some updates here. CDC here and CDC for Edward here. There's some values. Go back to the Postgres, refresh it, the data is right here. We can also go ahead and drop the CDC column. I can delete it, save everything, go back to the Postgres. Let's wait for it, refresh, and CDC is gone. So thanks for watching, and you can configure this to synchronize any two databases that are currently supported by Debezium connectors and RosettaDB connectors using the similar approach and using the project which is already available in GitHub as your example.